Hello children, today we are meeting to discuss the question answers of the chapter The Tiger King. In the earlier videos we have discussed the main characters and the brief summary of the chapter. Now in the beginning of this video we shall quickly recall all the points that we had discussed in the summary so that you can build up exactly what had happened in the end of the chapter, what was the end of the chapter, and then we shall quickly start the discussion of question answers. So let's start today's discussion. So these were the points that we had discussed in the summary of the chapter. We had discussed the chapter in the very summarized way into these number of points, and the end of the chapter was, the prophecy proves to be true. That means a few days later the Maharaja's son's third birthday was celebrated, and the Maharaja wished to give him some special gift on his birthday, and after a great deal of search he spotted a wooden tiger in a toy shop and decided that it was the perfect gift. Now, the wooden tiger cost only 2 annas and a quarter, but the shopkeeper said that it was an extremely rare example of craftsmanship and asked for 300 rupees, and the king bought it. That day both father and son played with that tiny little wooden tiger, and it had been carved by an unskilled carpenter. As a consequence, the surface was very rough with tiny slivers of wood which stood like quills all over it. So one of these slivers pierced the Maharaja's right hand, and the Maharaja pulled it out but continued to play with the prince. The next day, infection flared in the Maharaja's right hand and spread all over the arm. Then the 3 renowned surgeons from Madras could not save him. Thus the 100th tiger took its final revenge upon the Tiger King. As prophesied, it had killed the Maharaja. So in this manner, the 100th tiger took its final revenge upon the Tiger King. The 100th tiger was a wooden tiger, though it was not the real tiger, it was not the tiger in blood and flesh. But yes, the prophecy that was made by the astrologer had proven true, and he was killed by the wooden toy tiger. Now dear students, these are the questions given in your book, and we shall discuss them accordingly. The first one is, who is the Tiger King and why does he get that name? Now the answer to this question is that the Maharaja of Pratibandhapuram was called the Tiger King. At the time of his birth, the astrologers declared that the prince would have to die one day, and the 10-day-old prince asked the astrologers to reveal the manner of his death. The wise men were baffled at this miracle, and the chief astrologer said that his death would come from a tiger. So the young prince growled and uttered terrifying words, "Let tigers beware." So he decided to kill 100 tigers, and he thus got the name Tiger King. Now the second question is, why did the royal infant grow up to be? Well, Crown Prince Jangjang Bahadur grew taller and stronger day by day. He was brought up by an English nanny and tutored in English by an Englishman. He got the control of his estate when he came of age at 20, and he decided to kill tigers. For him, it was an act of self-defense, and as the astrologers had predicted, his death by a tiger. So this is how the royal infant grew up. Third question is, what will the Maharaja do to find the required number of tigers to kill? Well, you can briefly answer this question as the Maharaja was adamant to prove the prophecy wrong, and within 10 years he was able to kill 70 tigers. By this time the tiger population became extinct in the forest of Pratibandhapuram. So the Maharaja decided to marry a girl from a royal family of a state with a large tiger population so that he could shoot the remaining 30 tigers. So this plan was put into practice. and the Diwan found the right girl from a state which possessed a large number of tigers. The Maharaja killed 5 or 6 tigers each time he visited the father-in-law. Thus, he was able to find the required number of tigers to kill. He shot 99 tigers. The next fifth question is, how will the Maharaja prepare himself for the 100th tiger, which was supposed to decide his fate? Well, as we have come to know from the text that Maharaja's anxiety reached the highest level of excitement when only one tiger remained to be killed by him. So he thought of the 100th tiger during the day and dreamt of it at night. But tiger farms ran dry even in his father-in-law's kingdom. So it became impossible to locate tigers anywhere. If he could kill just that one single beast, the Maharaja would have no fear left. So as the late chief astrologer had said that Maharaja should beware of the 100th tiger, the Maharaja was sunk in gloom. Then came a happy news one day, and in his own state, sheep began to disappear frequently from a hillside village. So he thought that surely a tiger was at work. So villagers ran to inform the Maharaja. The Maharaja announced a 3-year exemption from all taxes for that village, and he set out on the hunt at once. But the tiger was not easily found. So the Maharaja continued camping in the forest and waiting for the tiger. This is how Maharaja was preparing himself for the 100th tiger. Now we have moved on to the 6th question. How would you describe the behavior of the Maharaja's minions towards him? Do you find them truly sincere towards him, or are they driven by fear when they obey him? Do we find a similarity in today's political order? Well, students, minion is an unimportant person in an organization who has to obey orders. So Maharaja has many minions or servants, and most of them fear the Maharaja and obey his orders faithfully. They dare not disobey him or contradict him. The Maharaja's displeasure means loss of job or even loss of life. So only a few of them are truly sincere towards him. One such person is the chief astrologer. He is willing to burn his books of astrology, cut off his tuft and crop his hair short if his prediction proves untrue. The others try to keep the Maharaja in good humor. Even the Diwan is no exception. Many officers lose their jobs when the Maharaja's fury and anger and obstinacy mount higher. So the king's bullet misses the 100th tiger. It faints from the shock and falls as a crumpled heap. The hunters realize the truth, but they decide not to reveal it to the king because they fear that they might lose their jobs. So in today's political order, subordinates serve their superior bosses as deaf and dumb creatures who see only what their masters want them to see. Their self-interest and fear of elimination make them faithful servants. So yes, in today's present scenario, we find a similarity in the political order. The 7th question is, the story is a satire on the conceit of those in power. How does the author employ the literary device of dramatic irony in the story? So dear students, on surface level, the Tiger King seems to be a simple story about a royal prince, his growth and exploits as a king. The prophecies at his birth about the manner of his death make the story interesting by introducing the element of surprise and suspense. But on a deeper level, the story is a satire on the conceit of those in power. It is usually seen that those in power have too much pride in themselves and what they do. Two such specimens in the story are the Tiger King and the British officer. The author employs dramatic irony and humor to show their faults and weaknesses. They do not know what is going to happen. The Tiger King resolves to hunt 100 tigers to disapprove the prediction of the astrologer. In his stubbornness, he falls prey to a wooden tiger. On the other hand, the high-ranking British officer is equally vain. He is more interested in photograph with carcass than hunting itself. So the Tiger King offers to organize any other hunt except tiger hunt. It may be a boar hunt, mouse hunt, or a mosquito hunt. He has to lose 3 lakh of rupees for his refusal. The ego of the British officer is satisfied when his wife is pleased to get diamond rings sent by the Maharaja. Now the last question is a value-based question. The question is that what is the author's indirect comment on subjecting innocent animals to the willfulness of human beings? Now you may write in this answer that for centuries innocent animals have been subjected to the willfulness of human beings. Man has been killing animals for sport, meat, or organs of body. The author does not make any direct comment about it in the story. Man advances strange logic to defend even his unlawful and cruel acts. The Maharaja quotes an old saying that you may kill even a cow in self-defense. Hence, he finds no objection to kill tigers in self-defense. It reveals not only the callousness of human beings towards wildlife, but their disregard for maintaining ecological balance. So the extinction of tiger species in Pratibandhapuram state and the state ruled by the Maharaja's father-in-law illustrates the result of man's cruelty towards wild animals. An old tiger has to be brought from the People's Park in Madras to satisfy the king's whim to kill 100 tigers. So in the end, the author wants to drive home the point that all of us are subject to decay. Death is common to all, and all beings have the right to live life. We are nobody to take away others' lives. The Tiger King breaks the divine law and so is severely punished by the divine power for his misdeeds. So this is the end of this chapter, dear children. Hope that everything is understood by you. When you get the books, you may go through the chapter, so it will create a better understanding in you. Thank you.